Hello, this is Miller at the Wee Market. We're going to be looking at onions today. Last week we made mole soup, and I started out by sauteing onions and garlic. And I thought it would be a good idea today to go through the process of how you cut up onions and how you cut up garlic so you can feel comfortable with doing that. Onions are really a cool vegetable. You should always be trying to use fresh onions and fresh garlic. They have a lot of substances in them that help you. They're kind of like a medicinal vegetable. And you can tell that fairly easily when you open up an onion. All onions come with these ribs. And sometimes you'll find an onion that is rotten in the middle. But what's interesting is it's not rotten next to where it's rotten, because they have a lot of things to keep the bacteria in check, the mold in check and stuff like that. So onions are good for you, period. Knives. This is my favorite knife. It's an 8-inch chef knife. And you will see some on TV that are called chef knives, but they might be this long, which would be about a 5 or a 6-inch chef knife. I like having a knife that fits in my hand, and this size fits, and I can get a good rocking motion when I chop things up. We're going to be trimming the onions. I always trim them by cutting the top off, then cutting the bottom off, and then peeling it. I've done a lot of these over my career. I have probably cut 14,000 pounds of onions. I figured that out the other day. And I've tried all different ways of cutting them with masks and different cutting techniques, and I find this works the best for me. Keep the smell down. Now, so this onion I just cut and I pop it into the water. Where you get the bitey onion thing where it tears up your eyes, that's because the cells in the onion have been damaged and it's letting out some volatile compounds that get into your eyes and hurt them. The other thing I do is pop out the little red end. So here we go again. We're going to trim off the top, the bottom, take away the dry stuff, get it down to the real onion. My eyes are tearing up a little bit, but if you noticed, I've been putting them in water, and that'll keep the volatile compounds from getting into the air. Here goes the end piece, the root section. Now you can prep onions to start like this. Like if you were to want to prep a lot of onions, usually when I had to prep 30 pounds of onions, I would stick them in containers like this. I'd prep them all, take the skin off, and put them in a container of water, then put them in my refrigerator overnight. The next day, the onion is nice and cool, and it doesn't give off as much eye irritating compounds. So we've got our onions trimmed. Now some people like to cut their onions, this one's got the root end in still. They will cut down to the root like that, and then across the top. And then chop off or make nice little dices of onion. I personally don't like doing it this way. I can go just about as fast as another person who is not doing it this way or doing it this way. And I do it like this. Take my onion, the root end is cut out, cut it in half. I cut down, I don't know if you can see that, my hands are probably in the way. I make sure that the knife is always in one spot, cut it all the way through this way, and then turn it a quarter turn and dice it. Now these are pretty strong onions. My eyes are already trying to tear up. Garlic, I have like 2 different ways of doing garlic. These are nice big cloves. I always like using fresh garlic. We have some that are this size and some that are a little bit smaller. Nice. This is a clove of garlic. Here's your knife. I usually hold it onto the cutting board and smash it a bit. So when in my recipes I'll say smash the garlic, that's what I mean. Once the garlic is smashed, you can peel off the skin fairly easily. Now this is not a foolproof way of dealing with garlic because there are some garlics that are just very, very difficult to deal with. Here at the co-op, it's been a long, long time when I've had a problem dealing with the garlic. It's all been very nice, and that's because we get good growers that bring in their garlic, and it's very fun to work with. So you see these garlics are coming out nice and whole. Okay, so if you have small cloves, bring your garlic to the edge. You have your nice wide knife, and you can just plain smash it. Now this is kind of a big clove, so it's a little bit harder. Small cloves you can basically smash it down to smithereens. But this works out pretty darn good. Now for a lot of soups, I like my onions this big. I like my garlic that big or bigger. And for a lot of dinner type things, I like to have very coarsely chopped garlic. So I just slice it into pieces, and you can kind of see how much coarser that is. I like garlic and I like onions. So I like to taste them. When you saute onions and garlic, just put a little olive oil in your pan, get it hot, and then put in the garlic and onions, and then saute it until there's a few crispy parts of it. Not crispy, but browned onions and garlic. And then you just start putting in your stock and your vegetables. You'll always want to have a sharp knife. A sharp knife is better than having a sharp knife sometimes and a dull knife most of the time. So always have a sharp knife. The problem with a dull knife is that when you're cutting an onion like this and you're pressing down on it, your knife will rock away, and oftentimes that's how you end up getting cut. So always keep your knife sharp. I brought my little tool in from home to sharpen knives. I'm not that good at sharpening knives. I used to use a pumice stone to sharpen my knives, and that got quite a divot in it from sharpening them all about 20 years. I like this little machine, it works good. So this one, you press the button, you can kind of hear it going. Just slowly drag your knife through it. 3 times on each side. And then across the stones at the top. Now your knife should be nice and sharp, and that'll make your cutting of onions and garlic and carrots and all those vegetable things you like working with much easier. Today we cut up onions. I just put the chopped up onions in a bag, and now they're going to go into my storage box and back into the cooler for Wednesday, when I'm going to be making a couple more soups for the co-op here. So remember what we did is chopped up onions and garlic. We also sharpened our knives, and I tried to remind you to keep your working area, your knives, your cutting board nice and clean, because the volatile compounds in onions that irritate your eyes, but it's also those volatile compounds in onions that are very good for your body. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.